Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill. Depending on the video store, Dress to Kill would either be under the D section in horror or it would be in the D section of drama, because this was a classy movie that sometimes people would look in the dramas for it. I think we put it in drama. The fact that when De Palma finished Dress to Kill, it originally received an X rating from the MPAA. I think it kind of comes down to 3 shots. It's 2 different shots of Angie Dickinson's bush in the shower, close-ups when she's showering. And then there's the effect in the elevator during the murder when she's sliced literally up the middle. But the fact that the movie starts with an erotic scene of characters we don't know, that we actually get to know through the eroticism. We know Kate Miller to some degree or another by the time that sequence is over. But without any introduction of the husband or the wife or the situation, we don't know that that's a fantasy at first when it's happening. That was fucking fantastic. I can't think of another movie other than like something that is just completely labeled as eroticism that would dare to start off with an erotic scene that truly erotic. And put us into that steamy, dreamlike world. Those were the things that were exercised to get the film an R. However, it became controversial because De Palma, I mean, it's only 3 seconds. De Palma made a big point about, they're screwing up my movie. And then he was joined by Pauline Kael, who backed him up and said, look, I saw Dress to Kill before the MPAA cuts and I've seen it afterwards, and De Palma's version is better. And then people have said, what? We're talking about 3 seconds. And she goes, well, the artists like De Palma, 3 seconds matter. 3 seconds is the difference between good and great. And Warner Brothers, without making a big fucking deal about it, restored the movie back in the early 80s, by the way, back when like the movie was only a couple of years old, to De Palma's original unrated cut. Dress to Kill comes out at the height of the slasher film genre, 1980, the height of the slasher film genre. And then it gets rhapsodous reviews from the most established critic, especially female film critics. This being deemed as art by the high society film critics and especially the female film critics. So watching Dress to Kill, because let's lose the giallo aspect for just a second and just talk about the movie itself. Every one of De Palma's visual motifs is hit in Dress to Kill. Media inside of media.
Yeah.
De Palma's the only one of the movie brats that, for the most part, at least when he did thrillers, wrote his own scripts, but he didn't start off as a screenwriter. He's more like a director writing stuff for himself to do, as opposed to Paul Schrader, as opposed to Francis Ford Coppola, as opposed to John Milius. By the time he does Dress to Kill, now he's writing, now he knows what he wants to do as a thriller. He's firmly established himself as the new master of the macabre. So he writes Dress to Kill himself, and it actually ends up being a big script in Hollywood. People love it. I think it's too easy to make too much of the transgender aspect. It's just De Palma playing with schizophrenia, taken directly from Hitchcock, taking it out of the realm of editorializing on transsexuals and turning it into Norman Bates, a schizophrenic character that does not know the existence of the 2 different personalities, that can have conversations with each other without knowing that they're the same person. It's Bobby is my favorite De Palma killer of all the villains, of all De Palma's villains. Bobby's my favorite, and it's a negative in the movie that we never have a scene from Bobby's perspective, but that's all harmless schizophrenia talk for a thriller. I don't think he's making a comment on transsexualism any more than Hitchcock's making a comment on transsexualism with Norman Bates and his mother. But one thing that needs to be talked about in this that we haven't mentioned is Dress to Kill falls into a special subgenre of movie, and that is the paraphrased remake. Now, there's certain movies that are paraphrased remakes. They're not a remake per se of another movie, but they wouldn't exist without this one particular movie's existence. And when you watch it, if you know about that other movie, that's almost part of the enjoyment that you have watching this new movie. But in the case of Dress to Kill, there are structure moments and there are scenes that the joke of the scene, the wit of the structure is the callback to Psycho. So like, for instance, the introduction of the Kate Miller character, Angie Dickinson's character. She's introduced as the lead of the movie and is killed in a big showpiece murder sequence about 40 minutes into the film. And then now the narrative is handed off to other characters. It keeps going on throughout. However, my favorite of the Psycho funhouse mirror reflections, is one of my favorite scenes in Psycho is Simon Oakland kind of explaining in words very similar to the ones that are used in Dress to Kill, Norman Bates' sexual psychosis at the end. Okay, this is why he did it all. Kind of Simon Oakland telling it like it is.
And we have Dr. Levy doing that in this film.
Sort of. We start to have the parody of the Psycho Simon Oakland scene with Dr. Levy. But then it jumps the ship, and now it has Nancy Allen delivering it to Keith Gordon. And what we don't see in the video is Mary Davenport sitting behind.
Yeah, because of the pan and scan.
Yeah.
Because of the loss in widescreen.
Sitting behind, I think, Keith Gordon, listening to the blow-by-blow description of how a sex change operation works. So that's the real comedy of it, is realizing, oh my God, he's got Nancy Allen. She's doing the Simon. It starts off with Dr. Levy, but then it becomes Nancy Allen. And that's just a parody of the Simon Oakland scene. De Palma's always said that his rough cuts, as opposed to other directors, run shorter than other directors, because the thing is, he cuts out all the exposition scenes.
Yeah.
And he wants it just to work as visual storytelling, and then adds them as he needs to. So when he's writing the script, okay, I got to make sure that everybody understands this. So he makes it very, very clear on the page, but then he's hoping his imagery will supplant a lot of that description, and he can just little by little start peeling it back until it's just what's needed. Dress to Kill without that music, what would that even be? I mean, it's just a different movie. Yeah. I can't even contemplate what it is. The team of Keith Gordon's Peter Miller, the young boy, and Nancy Allen, the high-priced prostitute, teaming up together in one of the most charming double acts I've ever seen in a horror film. I mean, they're just they're so charming together. They're so lovely. And without hitting a sexual aspect, there's something romantic about them together. It doesn't push it at all, but there's something romantic about it that gives it a sexy vibe without sexuality per se. I'm not looking necessarily for, I'm saying I'm not looking for Keith Gordon to score. I'm kind of thinking if she didn't have that dream, he might have scored over the course of that weekend. I mean, but it's even kind of interesting that Dennis Franz busts her balls, all right, through the whole film, only to find out at the end, well, no, that we just wanted the appointment book, all right. He was actually looking out for her. He never really thought she did. Yeah. He wasn't going to arrest her. Oh, this Ted from out of town, we better get him in town and downtown. It's the return of De Palma's New York, because De Palma, spent his whole early career filming New York. Yeah. But he's a different guy.
It's not Greenwich Village.
By the time he films Dress to Kill, now it's about the Met. Now if he's running out an apartment, it's on the fucking Upper West Side. Yeah. And that's the world that he explores this time. It's not Greenwich Village.